The pursuit of happiness is more important than the pursuit of money. But is it really that black and white? That's the story that Super Rich Kids by Frank Ocean is telling me. What's up, everyone? I am just Jonathan, and this is What's the Song Mean to You, where I love breaking down the lyrics and meaning of songs and extrapolating what the meaning of a song could be and/or what the song means to me. I am a photographer and videographer and just all around creative, and one of my passions revolve around music. I'm the type to listen to songs on repeat, and for whatever reason tend to look into the meaning behind the songs and consider what my own interpretation to that song is. So let's get into it. We're talking Frank Ocean, Super Rich Kid, from his Channel Orange album. The hook, it starts with the hook where it goes, too many bottles of this wine we can't pronounce, too many bowls of that green, no Lucky Charms. The maids come around too much, parents ain't around enough. Too many joy rides in daddy's Jaguar. Too many white lies and white lines. Super rich kids with nothing but loose ends. Super rich kids with nothing but fake friends. He starts the song off by painting a picture of what the protagonist is accustomed to. Drinking alcohol they find from their parents, and they don't tend to know how to pronounce what they're drinking because the wine names tend to be named in the language in which it was produced. And popular wines come from, places like Italy, Germany, France, Spain, etc. They've also got plenty of greens, which is slang for, that marijuana. It adds in Lucky Charms to essentially say that instead of some actual form of breakfast, they were just getting high. Now, some might say that getting high for breakfast is breakfast, but I'll leave that for my podheads to decide. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the, just leave that for them. My podheads, where you at? Frank Ocean proceeds to continue letting the listener know that they're loaded by referencing that they've got maids that come around, they're able to take joyrides in their father's Jaguar, and that there are, in a consistent way, absentee parents. And because there's nobody there to supervise, they're doing some hard drugs like, the white lines reference, like the white stuff that you can sniff through your nose, the cocaina. I don't know if YouTube will flag me for it, but which equals lines, and telling white lies to their parents about it, putting up a front. Another meaning for white lies could be that kids with money are always being agreed with by their peers and typically have, yes men's around, so they can make sure that they're staying on their good graces of said person with money. So they're giving them white lies to make sure that they're, always receiving those friendship benefits. Remember, these are kids that are super rich, so they've got, loose ends and fake friends. I do love how Frank uses quote unquote loose ends here, because a way that I've looked at it is a play on words. I believe it's a double entendre. This song is chock full of double entendres, even triple entendres maybe. But with loose ends, if you Google it, it means they don't have anything specific to do, right? That's one meaning. Another is, how there are those that are living, paycheck to paycheck, and they're always trying to make ends meet. For those of you who don't know what that means, it's to, making ends meet is to earn enough income to provide for basic needs. I think Frank here is essentially saying these super rich kids have ends they need to meet as well that isn't necessarily financial, right? They have needs that need to be met that isn't being met, which we'll get into later, but their emotional needs, mental needs, all of that just in the hook. Right? I will try my best to keep this video as short as possible, but it's just so much to unpack here. It's crazy. All right, we're going to the first verse. Start my day up on the roof. There's nothing like this type of view. Point the clicker at the tube. I prefer expensive news. New car, new girl. New ice, new glass. New watch, good times. Babe, is good times. Yeah. She washed my back 3 times a day. This shower head feels so amazing. We'll both be high. The help don't stare. They just walk by. They must don't care. 1,000,001, 1,000,002, 100 more will never do. Now, in Frank's first verse, again, I believe here he opens up with a triple entendre where he could be referring to 3 different roofs, therefore 3 different types of views. I think in the second verse, he identifies which exact roof he is referring to, and it can also still be a meaning for something else. One roof meaning they literally start their day on top of a roof that they snuck up to or even just simply have access to. Another roof meaning the very top floor of a luxury building, aka penthouse. And lastly, being so high that they're metaphorically on the roof, therefore seeing three different types of views that I mentioned earlier. Then they move on to watching TV, and he says, I prefer expensive news. I think he uses that word expensive here because it's probably on a really expensive, massive TV screen. Also, here's another double entendre where he refers to obviously watching the news, and as long as it's on an expensive TV, it's all good. But also, again, speaks about preferring multiple new things, which he proceeds to list out. Another double entendre is where he says new ice, new glass. He's talking about jewelry here, and also drugs as ice and glass, or slang for crack, heroin, and meth. As he refers to these, he mentions Good Times, which is another TV show they're watching, which you can hear be inserted in the background of the song, and you can hear the popular Dynamite, plays that an ad-lib in the song, and he refers to it, having an all-around good time, and referring to the watch also being a good time. Y'all still not hearing how great of a mastermind writer this man is? Let's move on. In the next line, guess what? Another double entendre. He's saying she washing his back multiple times in a day, and while they're doing that, not only is the actual shower head feeling good, like the pressure and everything, the weak outputs be so garbage. I digress. But also, the line is saying that he is also getting some, good head in the shower. He revisits being high off of drugs, life, etc., and how that help, which are the maids, who I'm sure raised him in a way, as opposed to his parents, as we learned earlier that the maids are around much more than the parents are, just minding their own business, walking by, doing their jobs, and don't get into, any personal affairs. This is key part of the song because internally he's saying that he really wants help, and since they're seeing it and are not doing anything, they just may not care. Then goes into saying how they have all this money and it's not filling a void, and just saying, more money won't do, which raises a great question. At some point, is it enough? Like, do you ever generate enough money where you're just like, this is good, Or do you always just want more? There's a rap verse in the song, but I'm not going to cover Frank's verse because there's already so much to unpack here. But if you're watching it and want me to break down the rap verse, just let me know in the comments. But in short, the rap verse is an extension of the cry for help that the protagonist is asking for by showing physical and emotional outbursts. People expect because someone is born into money that they shouldn't have any issues, but we've got to understand we're all human. And while those with no money may see their lives being easier, that doesn't mean those with money face their own battles and go into their own, battles with their own demons. And at some point, we might reach a tipping point where we just explode. Verse 2 goes, we end our day upon, we end our day up on the roof. I say I'll jump, I never do. But when I'm drunk, I act a fool. Talking about, do they sew wings on tailored suits? I'm on that ledge. She grabs my arm. She slaps my head. It's good times. Yeah. Sleeve rips off. I slip, I fall. The market's down like 60 stories. And some don't end the way they should. My silver spoon has fed me good. 1,000,001, 1,000,000 cash. I close my eyes and feel the crash. In Frank's second verse, he starts it with saying they're ending their day up on the roof. So essentially saying that nothing much has changed from when the day first started. Here he mentions considering offing himself, but never actually musters up the courage to do it. This continues to play on the different roofs because he could be talking about actually jumping off of the building or taking so much drugs that he eventually gets so high that he offs himself. He also goes into, when he's drunk, he'll ask crazy questions like, do they sew wings on tailored suits? That question right there, a powerful, powerful question, because it's a way to pay for the courage to do something he hasn't gotten the courage to do. Essentially trying to, again, fix his problems away with money. It's also powerful because it really shows that the ones that may not seem like they need help could really need some serious help, but nobody would ever really know it, right? Those in tailored suits, like those people who, we all think someone in a suit, we all think that they probably got it all figured out, life is good for them, but you never really know what is really going on with them mentally. So I love that he mentions the wings here because I believe it represents him looking for a way to escape his problems without potentially doing something so permanent. Or if he does do it, maybe he begins to consider what happens in the afterlife. And is it as peaceful as some religion makes it seem, right? So would he actually make it to heaven's gates in the afterlife? Of course, assuming that, he's religious or believes in God and stuff like that. I was a little confused in the next line for a little, because as he mentions being on the ledge and that she grabs his arm and then slaps him, I was thinking this was the same she that, he was getting head from. And I was like, wait, why would she slap him? So I'm thinking this is one of the maids that actually raised him, saying, hey, don't do something stupid. And as the story goes on, he ends up falling anyway, unfortunately, ultimately to his death. I think the phrase, the market's down like 60 stories, paints the picture of not only did he fall from really high up, but also that his own personal stock, his life, is literally going down. Like literally. He's now literally losing everything since he's about to lose his life. It's almost like that moment of him falling is slowed down. Like I think he's trying to create that visual of him falling and just kind of realizing all of that, even though it's something that's happening really fast. Or again, he could be so high up that he has enough time to think of, about all these things for just like still a little, relatively speaking, a shortened amount of time. Another thought about, the market's down like 60 stories. The kid's fall could also be a metaphor of America and the financial crisis America faced back in 2008. The song came out in 2012. So, but Frank here is comparing the two to show that the greed and the status of those with money, that 1% being the parents, are leading, not necessarily those parents, but parents in general who are in the 1%, who aren't there for their kids, are leading the society, which are the kids, down to disaster. You've heard the phrase, keep the rich rich and the poor poor. As the markets are going down and the poor is really taking a huge hit because there are jobs that get lost, people lose their homes and have to survive by any means necessary. They can't do anything else but deal with the situation they're in. Just close their eyes and feel the effects of the crash. The society doesn't necessarily have to be the kids, but it's like it's all of us as well who are just not in the 1%. Or who do get affected by it. But as we move on, he's saying everyone's life doesn't end the way they would hope it should. Although he had everything as he was born into money, you would think he's well off, as I mentioned before. But life has a funny way of, derailing what you created in your mind for your own life, which raises another question. Does one fully and truly have control of their own life? I don't really know the answer to that. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. And at the end of the verse, he, closes his eyes and meets his fate, right? Which is the crash that he mentioned. Now we go into the bridge. He does the bridge earlier, but he does it again at the end. But now we go into the bridge. And it's just a series of real love. I'm searching for a real love. Talking about real love. Real love. Yeah, I'm searching for a real love. Talking about a real love. It's so simple, right? But I love the bridge here because it sums up what that void is that he's been missing. He was just someone who really wanted to be loved. He didn't feel loved by his parents. He felt like he had fake friends. The maids were just there to do their jobs. The girls he was dating were only there because of his money and probably to get high and just have sex, as they probably had their own problem. He just wanted to feel a genuine connection, real love from someone he felt who truly cared for him. He wants to feel a real hug. I'm sure you felt empty and wanted to feel something real, something with a real deep connection one time. So it's like, for me, like that's something that I can relate to as well. Man, it's such a powerful song. It really speaks on how kids aren't innately necessarily bad people, and that circumstances and money can really encourage just terrible behavior. But anyways, thank you for watching the lyrical breakdown. I will go into what the song meant to me in part 2 because this video is already long enough. Yeah, we'll just end it right here. Remember, trust your ideas and execute. See you in part 2.